Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I know I haven't posted in a little while. I've been caught up in life. I am going to be doing a simpler video today than I had originally planned. I do have video ideas. I have to do part 3 of the fan art and reaction videos and a video about my first job experience with Chipotle, with the interviewing process and the getting ready, which I'm in the process of now. So I'll probably film a video about that, but for tonight I thought I'd post something more simple and I'd curl up and read a book aloud, and it's kind of like a book on tape. So if you like books on tape, then you probably will like this video. If you don't and you're more of a book person and liking it in your hands, then this is probably not the best idea for you. But there's a lot of people out here that do like videos like this, so I thought I'd make it because I like reading aloud and see how it goes. Okay. So, I've read this book a couple times, but I thought I'd choose this because this is a book that I go back to and have read. I don't know how far I'll read, or if I'll even do another video for this. I guess I'll just read until I get tired and then mark it, and if you guys like this video, then we can do another one like it. And did you get what you want? What you wanted from this life, even so? I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved. To feel myself beloved on the earth. Raymond Carver. Late Night Fragment. Charlotte, February 14th, 2002. Things break all the time. Glass and dishes and fingernails. Cars and contracts and potato chips. You can break a record, a horse, a dollar. You can break the ice. There are coffee breaks and lunch breaks and prison breaks, day breaks, wave breaks, voice break. Chains can be broken. So can silence and fear. For the last 2 months of my pregnancy, I made lists of these things in the hopes that it would make your birth easier. Promises breaks. Hearts break. On the night before you were born, I sat up in bed with something to add to my list. I rummaged in my nightstand for a pencil and a paper. But Sean put his warm hand on my leg. Charlotte? He asked. Is everything okay? Before I could answer, he pulled me into his arms, flushed against him, and I fell asleep feeling safe, forgetting to write down what I had dreamed. It wasn't until weeks later, when you were here, that I remembered what had awakened me that night. Fault lines. These are the places where the earth breaks apart. These are the spots where earthquakes originate, where volcanoes are born, or in other words, the world is crumbling under us. It's the solid ground beneath our feet that's an illusion. You arrived during a storm that nobody had predicted. A nor'easter, the weatherman said later, a blizzard that was supposed to blow north into Canada, instead of working its way into a frenzy and battering the coasts of New England. The news broadcasts tossed aside their features on high school sweethearts who met up again in a nursing home and got remarried, on the celebrated history behind the candy heart, and instead began to run constant weather bulletins. about the strength of the storm in the communities where ice had knocked out the power. Amelia was sitting at the kitchen table, cutting folded paper into valentines. As I watched the snow blow in 6-foot drifts against the glass slider. The television showed footage of cars sliding off the roads. I squinted at the screen, at the flashing blues of the police cruiser that had pulled in behind the overturned vehicle, trying to see whether the officer in the driver's seat was seen. A sharp rap on the slider made me jump. "Mommy!" Amelia cried, startled too. I turned just in time to see a volley of hail strike a second time, creating a crack in the plate glass no bigger than my fingernail. As we watched, it spread into a web of splintered glass as big as my fist. "Daddy will fix it later," I said. That was the moment when my water broke. Amelia glanced down between my feet. "You had an accident." I waddled to the phone, and when Sean didn't answer his cell, I called dispatch. "This is Sean O'Keefe's wife," I said. "I'm in labor." The dispatcher said that he could send out an ambulance, but that it probably would take a while. They were maxed out with motor vehicle accidents. "That's okay," I said, remembering the long labor I had with your sister. "I've probably got a while." Suddenly I doubled over, with a contraction so strong that the phone fell out of my hand. I saw Amelia watching, her eyes wide. "I'm fine," I lied, smiling until my cheeks hurt. The phone slipped. I reached for the receiver, and this time I called Piper, whom I trusted more than anyone in the world to rescue me. "You can't be in labor," she said, even though she knew better. She was not only my best friend, but also my initial obstructioner. "The C-section's scheduled for Monday." "I don't think the baby got the memo," I gasped, and I gritted my teeth against another contraction. She didn't say we were both thinking that I could not have naturally. "Where's Sean?" I don't know." "Oh, Piper, breathe," Piper said automatically, and I started to pant. "Ha, ha, he, the way she had taught me. I'll call Gianna and tell her we're on our way." Gianna was Dr. Del Sol, the maternal fetal medicine OB who had stepped in just 8 weeks ago at Piper's request. Were you planning on driving yourself?" 15 minutes later, I had bribed away your sister's questions by settling her on the couch and turning on Blue's Clues. I sat next to her wearing your father's winter coat, the only thing that could fit me now. The first time I had gone into labor, I had a packed bag and waiting at the door. I had a birthing plan and a mixtape with music to play in the delivery room. I knew it wouldn't hurt. But the reward was in the incredible prize, the child I'd waited months to meet. The first time I had gone into labor, I had been so excited. This time, I was petrified. You were safer inside me than you would be once you were out. Just then, the doors burst open and Piper filled all the space with her assured voice and her bright pink parka. Her husband, Rob, trailed behind carrying Emma, who was carrying a snowball. "Blue's Clues?" he said, settling down next to your sister. "You know that's my absolute favorite show after Jerry Springer." "Amelia, I hadn't even thought about who would watch her while I was at the hospital having you." "How far apart?" Piper asked. My contractions were coming every 7 minutes as one rolled over me like a riptide. I grabbed the arm of the couch and counted to 20. I focused on the crack in the glass door. Trails of frost spiraled outward from its point of origin. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. Piper sat down beside me and held my hand. "Charlotte, it's going to be okay," she promised, and because I was a fool, I believed her. The emergency room was thick with people who'd been injured in motor vehicle accidents during the storm. Young men held bloody towels to their scalps. Children on stretchers. I was whisked past them all by Piper up to the birthing center, where Dr. Delsoy was already pacing the corridor. Within 10 minutes, I was being given an epidural and wheeled to an operating room for a C-section. I played games with myself. If there are an even number of fluorescent lights on the ceiling of this corridor, then Sean will arrive in time. If there are more men than women in the elevator, everything the doctors told me will turn out to be a mistake. Without me having to ask, Piper had put on scrubs so that she could fill in for Sean as my labor coach. "He'll be here," she said, looking down at me. The operating room was clinical, metallic. A nurse with green eyes, that was all I could see above her mask and below her cap, lifted my gown and swabbed my belly. I started to panic as they hung the sterile drape in place. What if I didn't have enough anesthesia running through the lower half of my body, and I felt the scalpel slicing me? What if, in spite of all I hoped for, you were born and did not survive? Suddenly the door flew open. Sean blew into the room on a cold streak of winter, holding a mask up to his face, his scrub shirt tucked in. "Wait," he cried. He came to the head of the stretcher and touched my cheek. "Baby, I'm sorry. I came as soon as I heard." Piper patted Sean on the arm. "Three's a crowd," she said, backing away from me, but not before she squeezed my hand one last time. And then Sean was beside me, the heat of his palms on my shoulders, the hum of his voice distracting me as Dr. Stilosol lifted the scalpel. "You scared the hell out of me. What were you and Piper thinking driving yourselves? That we didn't want to have a baby on the kitchen floor?" Sean shook his head. "Something awful could have happened." I felt a tug below the white drape and sucked in my breath, turning my head to the side. That was when I saw it. The enlarged 27-week sonogram with your 7 broken bones. Something awful already has happened, I thought. And then you were crying, even though they lifted you as if you were made of spun sugar. You were crying, but not Hitch's simple cry of a newborn. You were screaming as if you had been torn apart. "Easy," Dr. Delsoy said to the OR nurse. "You need to support the whole." There was a pop, like a burst bubble, and although I had not thought it was possible, you screamed even louder. "Oh God," the nurse said, her voice a cone of hysteria. "Was that a break? Did I do that?" I tried to see you, but I could only make out a slash of a mouth. The team of doctors and nurses gathered around you, couldn't stop sobbing. I think until that moment I heard you cry. A part of me had believed that all the sonograms and tests and doctors had been wrong. Until the moment I heard you cry, I had been worried that I wouldn't know how to love you. Sean peered over their shoulders. "She's perfect," he said, turning to me. But the words curled up at the end like a puppy's tail looking for approval. Perfect babies didn't sob so hard that they could feel your own heart tearing down the center. Perfect babies looked the way on the outside and were the way on the inside. "Don't lift her arm," a nurse murmured. And another, "How am I supposed to swaddle her if I can't touch her?" And through it all, you screamed, a note I'd never heard before. "Willow," I whispered, the name that your father and I had agreed on. I had to convince him. "I won't call her that," he said. "They weep." "But I wanted to give you a prophecy to carry with you. The name of a tree that bends instead of breaking." "Willow," I whispered again. And somehow through the medical staff and the machinery and the fever pitch of your pain. You heard me. Willow, I said aloud, and you turned toward the sound as if the words was my arms around you. Willow, I said, and just like that you stopped crying. When I was 5 months pregnant, I got a call from the restaurant where I used to work. The pastry chef's mother had broken her hip, and they had a food critic coming in that night from a Boston Globe, and even though it was incredibly presumptuous and surely not a good time for me, could I possibly come in and just whip up my chocolate? The one with the spiced chocolate ice cream, avocado, and banana brulee. I admit I was being selfish. I felt loggy and fat, and I wanted to remind myself that I had once been good for something other than playing goofish with your sister and separating the laundry into whites and darks. I left Amelia with a teenage sitter and drove to Capper's. The kitchen had changed in the years since I had been there. Although the new head chef had moved around the items in the pantries, I immediately cleared off my workspace and set about making. Somewhere in the middle of all of it, I dropped a stick of butter, and I reached down to pick it up before someone slipped and fell. But this time when I bent over, I was acutely aware of the fact that I could not jackknife at the waist anymore. I felt you steal my breath as I stole yours. Sorry, baby, I said aloud. I straightened up again. Now I wonder, is that when those 7 breaks happened? When I kept someone else from getting hurt, did I hurt you? I gave birth shortly after 3, but I didn't see you again until I was 8. It was 8 p.m. Every half hour Sean left to get an update. She's being x-rayed. They're drawing blood. They think her ankle might be broken too. And at 6 o'clock he brought the best news of all. Type 3, he said. She's gotten 7 healing fractures and 4 new ones, and she's breathing fine. I lay in the hospital bed smiling uncontrollably, certain that I was the only mother in the birthing center who had ever delayed it with news like this. For 2 months now we had known that you were born. Two letters of the alphabet that would become second nature. It was a defect that caused bones so brittle they might break with a stump. I twist to sneeze. There were several types, but only 2 presented with fractures like we'd seen on my ultrasound, and yet the radiologist could still not conclusively say whether you had type 2, which was fatal at birth, or type 3, which was severe and progressively deforming. Now I knew that you might have hundreds more breaks over the years, but it hardly mattered. You would have a lifetime in which to sustain them. When the store let up, Sean went home to go get your sister so that she could meet you. I watched the Doppler weather scan track the blizzard as it moved south, turning into an icy rain that could paralyze the Washington, D.C. airports for 3 days. There was a knock at my door, and I struggled to sit up a bit, even though doing so sent fire through my new stitches. Hey, Piper said, coming into the room and sitting on the edge of the bed. I heard the news. I know, I said. We're so lucky. I'm gonna stop here. It's 19 minutes into it. I marked it, so I'll make another video if you guys want to. Sorry about the noise in the background. That's my dog. She's just coughing. I hope that you could still hear me through that. Thank you for watching this video. Bye.